Hello, I'm Nadia Sharbi. Welcome to Middle East Matters, coming up in this week's edition. By targeting Afghanistan and Ethiopia, the Islamic State group is adding to the list of countries on the receiving end of its terror tactics. Taking a perilous boat ride across the Gulf of Aden, an increasing number of refugees from war-torn Yemen are seeking shelter in the Horn of Africa. And our correspondents take us to Lebanon to meet the Armenian descendants of survivors of the 1915 genocide. And first, the circle of nations affected by the Islamic State group's exactions has widened again. The organization's Libyan fighters have released a video purporting to show the execution of a group of Christian prisoners from Ethiopia. Meanwhile, Afghan authorities blamed the extremists for last week's suicide attack in Jalalabad, which would mark the first Islamic State incursion of its kind in the country. All new signs that, despite the US-led coalition's efforts, the group's influence is widening beyond its self-proclaimed caliphate. Kate Moody has more.
Bloodshed in Jalalabad. On April 18th, the suicide bomber targeted a bank, leaving more than 30 people dead and 100 injured. A former Taliban fighter, now allied with the Islamic State group, claimed responsibility, the organization's first major attack on Afghan soil. Earlier this year, Afghan and Pakistani militants pledged their loyalty to the leader of the IS group, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
They're not pledging allegiance in an office and formally signing their names. They're doing it via the media, intermediaries, the internet. All they have to do is agree with the caliphate's vision and strategy. That is in itself showing their allegiance.
The terrorist group says its goal is to build a caliphate and impose Sharia law. With sophisticated recruitment techniques and a strong presence on social media, it succeeded in attracting jihadists from around the world.
The IS group has been gaining momentum since making its mark on the international stage in Iraq last summer. From Boko Haram in Nigeria to Afghanistan, they've created sanctuaries that are multiplying in Libya, Sinai, Yemen and Pakistan.
Among the victims of a self-proclaimed IS franchise, Frenchman Hervé Gourdel, who was taken hostage in Algeria in September and then beheaded by militants who'd recently announced their allegiance to the Caliph al-Baghdadi. While IS militants fight to maintain control of the territory they've already seized in Syria and Iraq, they're also trying to coordinate their various and expanding international branches. With its sphere of influence growing, analysts say the Islamic State group has overtaken al-Qaeda as the most powerful jihadist network in the world.
A criminal court in Egypt has sentenced ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi to 20 years in prison. This on charges linked to the killings of 10 demonstrators. In December 2012, Morsi's supporters attacked opposition protesters, demanding that the new president call off a referendum on an Islamist-drafted constitution. Well, this Tuesday's verdict is the first to be issued against Mohamed Morsi, Egypt's first leader to be freely elected after the Arab Spring Revolution of 2011. 4 years on from his downfall, Hosni Mubarak and members of his government increasingly find themselves acquitted of criminal charges, while Morsi and the banned Muslim Brotherhood are at the receiving end of more heavy-handed sentences. Now, the Saudi-led coalition is continuing its airstrikes on Yemen, targeting the Shiite Houthi rebels as they extend their grip on power and fight loyalist forces on the ground. Caught in the crossfire, the population has no choice but to flee the flashpoint cities, taking shelter in more remote areas or for a growing number abroad. We take a look now at those attempting the dangerous crossing of the Gulf of Aden, hoping to find refuge in the Horn of Africa. Julia Seeger reports.
For increasing desperate Yemenis, Djibouti is becoming a safe haven. But first they have to cross the Bab al-Mandab Strait, one of the busiest waterways in the world. These people paid $70 each for their passage. Many reject the refugee label, saying they won't be going to a displacement camp.
I'm not asking their help. I came here by my money. I'm going to travel with my money. So they're not helping me out. I'm coming here, I'm going to rent a hotel, I'm going to rest, and tomorrow I'll travel. Do you think I'm a refugee now?
Those without the means to rent a bed end up here, Obok's refugee camp in the country's arid north. Firuz Mahmoud Mohammed used to be a successful carpenter back home. But when the bullets and bombs came too close, he too was forced to flee, leaving his 27-year-old son behind.
We had no choice. To save 5 lives is better than to remain there. The 5 of us left and he stayed back. It was a sacrifice. We could not all stay and be killed there.
The first to come to the camp were Yemeni fishermen who arrived in their small boats. Later came middle-class Yemenis from Aden.
The region where my parents are staying is besieged. My father has a broken arm because of a sniper shot. The shot entered here and went out from here. He has other injuries in his leg because of bomb debris.
The UN Agency for Refugees says up to 150,000 people have been displaced over the past 3 weeks, while more than 300,000 have already fled their homes because of the violence.
This year, Armenians mark the 100th anniversary of the genocide perpetrated by Ottoman troops. At the time of the massacres, large numbers of Armenians sought refuge in Lebanon, a haven that allowed them to protect their language and traditions. Well, as a result, the country has become one of the Armenian diaspora's most active hubs. Our correspondents begin their journey in Anjar, where the locals are descended from some 5,000 Armenian survivors.
Among Armenians, the people of Anjar are famous worldwide. On the walls of this church, a fresco traces their epic story. In 1915, the villagers of Musa Dag, in the highlands of Antioch, resisted for more than 40 days against Ottoman troops before being evacuated by the French Navy.
We as Musadarian people, we are proud. Why? Because we didn't go to the desert to die. We prefer to fight and to survive. I feel proud because we were able to save our people from the genocide.
In schools in Anjar, most of the subjects are still taught in Armenian.
We have to study the fight that our ancestors began, what they wanted, their heroism, their struggle to protect their rights. We have to learn to follow their path in the future.
Borj Hamoud in East Beirut is Lebanon's largest Armenian community. Established 100 years ago, Armenians here have built a solid reputation in crafts, especially in jewelry. But the community has also been able to integrate politically.
The Armenians, really, due to the confessional system, as one of the 7 main basic communities here in Lebanon, have a great role to play in politics, in economics, and in cultural system of Lebanon. Lebanon is considered to be the second Armenia for the Armenians.
There are 3 Armenian newspapers published in Lebanon. The country is even home to the only Armenian university outside of Armenia. This photography exhibition documents Armenian camps in Aleppo during the interwar period. The city was the other major center of the Armenian diaspora in the Middle East, until, that is, the beginning of the Syrian civil war.
It was really an extremely dynamic community, a community that had preserved its traditions, its language, a vibrant community that will probably disappear. It will not be the same.
The Armenians of Lebanon are not nearly as threatened. However, by best estimates, their numbers have been halved since the Lebanese civil war. Today, there are just over 100,000 still living in the country.
Now, Hollywood blockbuster Fast and Furious 7 is turning into a record-breaking hit, which is good news for Abu Dhabi, where the action-packed movie was shot. Hundreds of hours of movies are being produced at a competitive price in the United Arab Emirates capital. That's thanks to its new state-of-the-art studios, a fast-developing film industry that allows the Emiratis to spend gas and oil money while building a new economic model. Sylvain Lepetit, Miyuki Drozahamaki and Gail Sunderland report.
For the first time in its history, the latest Star Wars was filmed among Abu Dhabi's sand dunes. The UAE were chosen over Tunisia, the historical setting for the saga, perceived to be too unstable. A true recognition for the Emirates. Star Wars, but also Fast and Furious 7, are a chance to promote the country's landscapes.
If you like to do desert, we have. If you like to do modern and exotic, we have.
But beyond the scenery, Abu Dhabi's attractiveness is mainly financial. The city offers a 30% discount on shooting expenses, enough to push producers to make the jump to the Emirates. But feature films are not the only target. This afternoon at the desert's doorstep, the Abu Dhabi studios welcomed the recording of a TV show. Opened just 7 years ago, the Emirati studios boast a major center for audiovisual production in the Arab world. And it was only able to compete with its rivals thanks to millions of dollars of investments.
We chose to work in Abu Dhabi Studios 2454 because they have the latest technical capacities and equipment which we need for a high-level show like ours.
Going high-tech is also the path chosen by the neighboring city of Dubai, where many have become special effects experts.
So this is our green screen stage. As you can see, it's one of the biggest in the Middle East.
In just a couple of clicks, this green background turns into any landscape, Versailles or Miami. Producers save both time and money thanks to a backdrop database compiled by the studios.
This is all the behind-the-scene magic happens. Like we go shoot those as a 360 environment, and on our process we stitch all those backgrounds together. Our artists just drag and drop and composite them the way it suits the shot itself.
Dubai's main feat was the shooting and production of Mission Impossible 4. The studio's director has turned his office into a trophy room.
This is the original director chair that was used on set.
He says he can get any filming permission in just 3 days.
This is a production guide, I would call it, with limitless possibilities in Dubai. If you want to shoot in Dubai today, as we said, no red tape, everything is a red carpet in Dubai for you.
Last year, Dubai received 780 shooting requests for films, advertisements, and TV shows. But some, like Sex and the City, were rejected. Authorities judged the film as immoral.
That's it for this week. Stay tuned to France.